Well, you'd never know it. The site behind me there, prior to its destruction, used to be one of Europe's largest leisure centres called the Magnum. One of the most popular centres in Ayrshire, if not in Scotland. But how did this place, much beloved to the locals and to the other population, lead to its demise? Today we're in Irvine, looking back on the Magnum Leisure Centre. Now you may wonder why the history of the leisure centre is important enough for this video. But the Magnum wasn't just a leisure centre. It was at one point the highlight of Irvine and a place that held so many memories for Ayrshire residents. But before we look back at the facts, let's look back on the memories. On our Facebook page, we asked you to share your memories of the Magnum. And boy, we got a lot of interesting responses. Here's Manda, showed how she would visit the Magnum 4 times a week after being given a pair of white ice skates from her auntie. And Jack told us how he used to spend his time on the Friday fun nights and the Friday ice discos. And here's April, she told us she used to be a member of the ice dance and figure skating club, which was how she met her husband. And finally, Gary told us how he practically grew up at the Magnum, from learning to swim, getting his first job there, and finally watching it get tore down. And now let's get back to the beginning and find out how the Magnum got its start. In the 60s and 70s, plans were in place to redevelop Irvine, and part of those plans was the Magnum Leisure Centre. Many people were involved with the development of the Magnum, for example people like David Webster and Stan Robertson. Stan was a youth service organiser for the Irvine district, and David worked at the Scottish Council for Physical Recreation. Their roles eventually led them to be more involved in the development of the Magnum. Initially, it was named the Irvine Harbour Leisure Centre, but Stan knew it needed a stronger name, which eventually led to the centre being renamed the Magnum. The Magnum would be located along the seafront of Irvine Harbour. It was fitted with 2 swimming pools, an ice rink, a sauna, an indoor bowls hall, 3 squash courts, a fitness room, a weights room, a games room, a solarium suite, a theatre cinema, 2 cafeterias and a licensed bar. The creation of the Magnum cost $3.2 million, and it was the largest leisure centre in Europe when it opened in 1976. The Magnum saw nearly 25,000 visitors on its opening day and managed to make it to 1 million visitors before finishing its first year of use. Despite the great size and number of activities, there were planned facilities that never came to fruition, as the Magnum, along with the Rivergate shopping centre, was supposed to be the start of a bigger redevelopment of the harbour side. On July 3, 1979, the Queen would visit Irvine, her first time to the town since her coronation in 1953. The visit included a stop at the Rivergate shopping mall before making her way to the Magnum, which, by the way, I was lucky enough to be there and see the Queen. And I was down with all my pals. We'd heard the Queen was coming to the Magnum. And then somebody had told us from the inside that she was going to walk over to the observation bit. At the very edge there was a big observation area where you could look across to see Arran. We all stood up there at that hill area to see the Queen. And she actually gave us all a wave. I don't know if she waved to me, but she gave a wave to everybody. In 1980, the Magnum would host its first major concert. On May the 5th, Madness performed at the Magnum. This led to a huge boost to the reputation and notoriety of the centre, and led to other major acts performing there. This included Thin Lizzy and The Jam in 1981, The Clash in 1982, and believe it or not, The Smiths in 1985. Part of the success of the Magnum at this stage can be attributed to a man called Willie Freckleton. Willie was responsible for the Magnum's ability to draw big acts like the Smiths, but also had a keen ability for identifying up-and-coming talent, as he would book the likes of Billy Connolly, Oasis and Alan Cumming, before they became the recognisable names that they are today. Willie worked at the Magnum up until 2008, where he left his role as entertainment manager. Unfortunately, in 2011, at the age of 66, Willie passed away at his home surrounded by his family after a battle with cancer. In 2013, Willie's memory would live through Freckfest, a weekend festival held in his honour. The first Freckfest was actually held at the Magnum, and a decade later the festival still takes place in other locations over Ayrshire, bringing local and big name acts together just as Willie did. The Magnum not only hosted major music events. In November of 1994, the main hall would become the setting for a boxing event that is potentially the biggest sporting event to ever take place in Irvine. It was Paul Weir's win against Paul Olden for the WBO minimum weight title. Not all functions of the Magnum were a success, as the theatre initially only showed art house films. But this was not financially viable, and the theatre would begin showing mainstream films. But however, sales would still struggle, and in 2003, The Hulk would become the last film to be shown in the Magnum on the 17th of August. On 1st April 2000, TVA Leisure, a non-profit organisation, had attained management control of the Magnum Leisure Centre. It was around this time in the early 2000s that North Ayrshire Council would give the Magnum a serious budget cut, marking the beginning of the end. So now we'll check in with one of our volunteers, Cameron, as he asked members of the public for their memories of the Magnum.
Just tell me your memories of the Magnum. What did you make of the place?
I loved it. It was great, good swimming. There was everything for kids. Well, the kids in Irvine have been doing there. They did their bowling, they did the five-a-side.
You know, the theatre and all the rest of it. It was a great idea. Yeah. Well before its time, sadly. And people went for miles and miles around to go there.
We used to come down from, Cumbernauld and go to the Magnum sometimes.
I took a keep fit class down there.
Yeah?
Yes, and very sorry to see it go. My children learned to swim at the Magnum.
But I enjoyed going to the Magnum for a swim and five-a-side.
You said you went ice skating to the Magnum.
Yep.
What did you enjoy about it?
The friendship, the company, they used to play music as well, you know, meet up with people.
Yeah.
Go back home, I'd also go swimming.
Yeah.
With my sister, my younger sister.
Speaking of swimming, why don't you swim over to our coffee page where you can find additional content and get a look behind the scenes and support the work we've been doing by buying us a coffee. Now that we've heard all about the Magnum in its heyday, it's time to look back into its unfortunate decline. In the last few years of the Magnum's life, it suffered from the lack of maintenance. The cleanliness was often questioned, and some viewers will likely remember the flumes often being closed. Due to the low attendance numbers, closure of the Magnum was approved by the council in 2009. Initially, it would be closed with nothing to replace it. But in 2011, it was announced that plans to regenerate the town centre would include a new leisure centre. Despite this announcement, towards the end of 2013, KA Leisure would have AstroTurf installed in one of the halls of the Magnum. In 2013, the Save the Magnum campaign started with the aims of securing funding for the Magnum to carry out repairs and renovation. The campaign refused to relent in this issue. However, the campaign was unsuccessful. And after 40 years of operation, the Magnum was closed on the 30th of December 2016. According to the Daily Record in 2017, Walls, the company behind the Magnum ice cream, placed a bid for the leisure centre, with plans to turn it into a Willy Wonka-inspired factory. However, these plans would, thankfully, never come to fruition. Central Demolition Limited were contracted to demolish the Magnum, and in December 2017 the demolition was completed. And the company carried out topsoiling and grass seeding on the site, which was completed in May 2018. Well, you can just see the vastness behind me there. The whole place is completely flattened. And I remember at one time that was obscure with this big building.
What do you remember? What was your reaction when you heard that the Magnum was going to close?
Oh, it was like the end of an era. It was quite a shock to hear.
Oh, we fought to keep it. Devastating, actually. But the councillors weren't interested.
I think the council did the area a disservice because they could have probably spent some money keeping it going.
It was a sad day when they closed the Magnum for the full of Irvine.
Yeah.
Because that's that bit of the town now. Nobody really uses it at all, you know what I mean?
Plans were put in place to open a new leisure centre in the town centre, called the Portal. Construction of the centre cost around 20 million, which is less than the Magnum was built for, when inflation is accounted for. The Portal includes a 6-lane main pool, a teaching pool, a sports hall, a function and exhibition area, a fitness suite, wet and dry changing rooms and a viewing area of the pool. So Cameron asked the public their opinions on the Portal.
What do you make of the Portal?
Oh, it's fabulous. We come here regularly and it's absolutely brilliant for older people. I don't know mainly what it's like in the evening, but during the day it's full of older people going to classes.
We love it. We love it. We've got our own wee club. This cafe is fantastic. New guys just taking over as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. New menus this week.
Uh-huh.
Staff are absolutely lovely. Girls in the reception are brilliant.
Yeah.
Class teachers are all brilliant. And we're all a wee kind of group. I mean, I'm in here the whole day Monday and whole day Tuesday.
Well, I mostly use the gym inside, and a lot of the equipment can be adapted for the wheelchair, so it's ideal for me.
So this is not a direct replacement for the Magnum. I mean, there's no ice skating here. You know,
There's lots of things.
Not here at the Magnum had this little cinema.
And a lot of wasted space when you walk in.
Yeah.
And I think we could have done a lot more. We could have had a sauna, we could have had steam rooms.
Parking is terrible. My wee granddaughter comes and picks me up to take her because she's a wee bit shy to get in. And she trying to get a parking space. I would actually waste about a gallon of petrol trying to find a parking space, honestly.
So what could have been different to increase the life of the Magnum and potentially keep visitor numbers high? Well, remember the redevelopment plans I mentioned earlier in this video? The execution of these plans never made it past the first phase of development. Phase 2 of the plan would have extended the shopping centre and connected it to the train station, with Phase 3 focusing on the redevelopment of the harbour. Plans included a ski slope, a roller coaster and a stadium that would have been placed next to the Magnum. Now these plans were definitely ambitious, but had these plans been completed, it would have elevated Irvine from the shopping town it currently is and possibly made it the most popular town in Ayrshire. With these additions, Irvine would likely have seen a more stable, high number of visitors, particularly in the summer months. It has always stood out to me that the Magnum was a lone building that felt detached from the rest of the town, and an odd location for what was the largest leisure centre in Europe. Knowing what was originally planned makes the Magnum scale and location make more sense. It's a shame the plans were never completed, leaving the Magnum to fall short of its true potential. Well, despite what never was, the Magnum was a beloved part of Ayrshire, and the decision to close it has always been questionable. Perhaps the money spent in the creation of the Portal would have been better spent on rejuvenating the Magnum and could have empowered it to go on for another 40 years, but who knows. So what do you think of the closure of the Magnum? Was the Portal a necessary replacement or a disappointing downgrade from the magnum opus of leisure? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below and share your memories from your time at the Magnum.
I loved it. And all my family liked it. I've got a lot of memories in that Magnum with my nieces and nephews and everything.
And I think the Magnum kept a lot of the children off the streets.
And here's all right. The pool and that's good. It's good central location, but the Magnum was a Magnum. You speak about Irvine to people, the Magnum they'll say.
Yeah.
It was well known. It was like a landmark, the Magnum.
Thanks for watching this instalment on the history of Ayrshire, and keep an eye out for our future video where we'll revisit the Magnum and interview some of its former employees. If you'd like to see a particular location covered in the future, then leave your suggestions in the comments below. And why not support the work that we do by buying us a coffee? Thanks for watching. See you next time.